So you see how much kidnappers are picking for victims.
My goodness. Government should always say what is best. And I think we get the 3% for the oil producing community is too low.
So the support that is needed, and once you get the support, your airline people will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
Good morning. Welcome to midweek edition of Inside Nigeria, reaching you on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Webo, and it's my pleasure to be here today on the program. And of course, I'm not alone in the studio. I have with me a public affairs analyst, a TV host, and a syndicated columnist, Mr. Jide Ojo.
It's a pleasure to be here. Compliments of the Yuletide, 72 hours to Christmas.
Yes.
We pray that we have a happy celebration.
It's a pleasure always to have you on the program.
Same here, my sister.
Yeah. As usual, we are going to be reviewing major headline news stories on some selected newspapers. And of course, we always start with our staple and Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership. Mr. Jide, the papers are watched today with the electoral bill story.
Not unexpectedly, anyway.
Okay, so we are starting off with our staple Leadership newspaper. On the cover today says electoral bill. Announced that National Assembly divided over plan to override President Muhammadu Buhari. Electoral bill. Announced divided over plan to override PMB. And on the rider says, we've collected 73 signatures so far. Senator Sekibo, reps ready to rework bill. We can't throw the bill away, says Bajabe Miala. Governors don't care about direct or indirect primaries. Fire me. President's action selfish, ASU declares. Don't disappoint Nigerians. SANS, CSOs tell lawmakers. Potpourri of stories today on Leadership newspaper. From Leadership newspaper, we move over to THISDAY newspaper. THISDAY newspaper. Yes. THISDAY says, still on electoral bill, Senate mobilizes to override President's veto. House defers battle till January. Electoral bill, Senate demobilizes to override President's veto. House defers battle till January. Over 75 senators signed proposal, more expected. That is on THISDAY newspaper today, Wednesday. On this day, it's still the same story. On the last paper, not the last paper, second to the last paper we have for review today, and that is Blueprint newspaper. Blueprint says, dumped Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Fayemi backs Buhari as senators move to override veto. Dumped Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Fayemi backs Buhari as senators move to override veto. Time to show we are no rubber stamp. Is sabotage of electoral reforms at Degboruwa. President's action will have direct consequences on INEC, say CSOs. We won't give up, says Bajabe Miala. That is on Blueprint. So many stories, so many riders on electoral bill today.
Well, Winifred, whatever they say is after fact. All that is happening is after fact. And I've been on several media platforms, radio, TV, analyzing this over the last 3 days. My own take is, first, if you must blame the hawk for wickedness, first blame Mother M for exposing our children to danger. As of July, when this bill was passed, nothing was said of direct or indirect primaries. Only for them in September to resurrect something that, I mean, the British will tell you if it's not broken, you don't have to fix it. Who sponsored that amendment of Section 87? Because that's what section 87 is, the section that has to do with the current, in the Electoral Act 2010 as amended. That's the section that talks about party primaries. Nothing of such happened all these 3 years. Only for somebody to develop a brainwave and say, oh, you know what, let's teach this. Who are you teaching a lesson? They said they want to teach the governors a lesson. How can people who in the legislative and think they can teach a governor a lesson? Where has it done? It's like what my friend titled his book of poetry, Lucidity of Absurdity. You know, because the executive will always be, in the lead. They will always be victorious. They have the resources. They have the favor to dispense. You are the one that will look for contract with the governors. You are the one that wants ticket, and the governors are the leader of the party in the state. So, issue of party primary should never have been this contentious, because the point is, nothing was wrong with having direct or indirect primaries as a basis for conducting party primary. Now, somebody said, and I seems to sympathize with that school of thought, that when the Senate failed on the issue of electronic transmission of results, and public pressure was mounted, and the Senate had to recommit the bill for another passage to now be at the same pace with the House of Reps, that it was at that stage somebody developed a brain with that, oh, it's like Nigerian people want to win. Let's sponsor something that will throw the spanner in the wheel of what they have done. Because it was never part of what was being considered. So at what point was that smuggled in? And what utility value was it going to have? Because I know.
But sorry, Mr. J, if I have to cut in there, don't you think that it wasn't just throwing a spanner in the wheel to make the Nigerians support?
It is.
Don't you think that it was also for their own benefit? Because it felt that, like when they removed the electronic transmission of results, which everybody felt that was going to aid rigging. So this time around, don't you think they are also trying to protect their interest by
interest
primaries?
Is their own
interest themselves from governors who are
is their own interest. Is their own interest supposed to supersede the interest of the majority of Nigerians?
No, I'm just saying that they are not just doing it for doing sake.
That's what I'm saying. Is their selfish reasons, and that selfish reason should never have been allowed to manifest. Because obviously, I wrote in my column 2 weeks ago, and I said, much ado about party primaries. That was the title. And it's still available online. You can read it. Viewers can read it. And I said, look, there are about 4 to 5 booby traps in the candidate nomination process. Why are you focusing on one? The first booby trap is nomination fee. They will put it high beyond the reach of average person like you and I. So for you to be an aspirant for a governorship position, 22.5 million.
Yes.
22.5 million, even in this Abuja, can build you a modest bungalow. And that's what you're supposed to come and pay as an aspirant. And it's not refundable. That's booby trap 1. 2, screening of aspirants. They can say you are too beautiful. You will not, it's not beauty we want to have. We want people who are intelligent. So they disqualify you. You can say, oh, anti-party, why did you go and attend the wedding of daughter of an opponent or somebody from the same political party? Flimsy excuse that can be used to screen out somebody. That's booby trap number 2. We saw that in Edo with Obaseki. We saw that even in Abga. Yeah, they lived up to November 6, 2021 governorship
somebody
election.
That was that became a governor.
The same in 2016 with the same credential. You said it's no longer qualified. That is a qualification suspect. And the guy has gone up to Supreme Court and as his nomination being validated. So that is the second booby trap. The third booby trap is what we are talking about, the issue of party primaries. And I say, look, even these primaries, whether you do direct or indirect, both of them are susceptible to manipulations. And that's what the president said in his communication yesterday, that it's direct primary is also fraught with similar with manipulations, as can be seen with others. That's number 3, isn't it? Number 4 is issue of substitution of candidate after the party primaries. And I said it has happened, and I quickly cite 2 examples. One in Ondo State, the former deputy governor of Ondo State, Agbola Ajayi, when he left APC, he joined PDP. He contested for the ticket of the PDP governorship ticket in PDP last year, ahead of the September 16 or 19 governorship election. He lost to Eyita Jagede SAN. When he lost, did you know he left the party and went to Zenith Labour Party? As at that time, they have concluded nomination. But the leadership of Zenith Labour Party was able to pressure whoever was holding the ticket to go and formally resign his nomination, to say he's no longer interested. And they now fielded Agbola Ajayi as the candidate. The same thing happened in this is even a bit different. In this yes, similar but a bit different. In this Anambra governorship election, the same Zani Labour Party, there is this young man, Obiora Okonkwo, just turned 56. He's the owner of United Airlines. He contested under PDP with Valentino Zibo. He lost to him. Then there's Didiora will look for must contest in this election. Then they went Zenith Labour Party. As at that time, they've concluded party primaries. Somebody had emerged as the candidate of Zenith Labour Party in Anambra. But the party pressurized that person to formally withdraw his candidacy, and they now fielded Obiora Okonkwo. Did he stand for primary? He was not. He didn't participate in primary, just like Agbola Ajayi did not participate in primary. Yet they became candidate of the party. So I'm saying, even if you say direct primary, it still does not cure the challenge that we have with non-candidate nomination process, because anything can still happen before, during, and after the primary. So it was wrong for those who made that amendment to Section 87. But having gone beyond that, what should the president have done? Now, with the advisory you received from the Attorney General Minister of Justice for you not to sign and all of that, what could have been done is he should have signed, with a caveat that the sponsor another amendment where the needful will be done. But I also understood the president that if he has signed, given the self-interest of the National Assembly, they wouldn't have amended the act. So it's better to hold them by the ball by making sure that they do the signing, they do the amendment and represent it. But we are beginning to have a feeling of deja vu, that are we not back to what happened in 2018, where the president in February of that year said they disagree with about 3 clauses in the bill. Then after that, they amended it. He said there are clerical errors. They did another amendment. He said there are clerical errors. Then the last one, he said it's too close to 2019 election. So are we not back to that similar situation? And what is playing out, my sister, is very worrisome. While the Senate is about poised to override the president's veto, the House of Reps have closed for the year. They have announced that the House will reconvene on 18th of January. So, which means that even if the Senate overrides the president's veto, unless there is a concurrence by the House of Reps, it's dead on arrival. So, what is looking at the most plausible way out is for them to rework the bill, as Wajabi Amila has said, that we can't throw away the bill. Let them amend. They don't need more to do much. All they just need to do is to reinstate the current provision in Section 87 of the Electoral Act, which has given option of direct or indirect primary, and then they will be home and dry. And I was very, very happy with what Senate spokesperson said yesterday, that there are 4 options open to the National Assembly. One is to abandon the electoral reform project. 2 is for them to override the president's veto. according to the power given them by Section 58 sub 5 of the Constitution. 3 is to reward the bill and send to the president for assent. And the 4th option is even to remove everything that has to do with party primary from the electoral law, so that it now becomes the discretion of the parties whether they just want to conduct primary or they don't want to do primary. They just want to write name of who will be their candidate and then send it to INEC. Because by virtue of Section 31 sub 1 of the Instant Electoral Act, INEC has no role to play in who is the candidate of the party. So that they can as well remove everything that has to do with party primaries in the bill. And parties can do, if they like, let them bring the wife of the chairman, the son of the chairman, and say this is the candidate of the party. Then it will be left for people to vote or not to vote for whoever they push forward. So those 4 options are available. But while the Senate is grandstanding and said they are ready to override the president's veto, in fact, what was in the media ahead of yesterday was that the National Assembly, the Senate, had delayed the passage of the appropriation bill in order to put pressure on the president to sign. And now that the president has refused to sign, you will see that yesterday, House of Reps has already passed the appropriation bill, while the Senate is still foot dragging. We will see where they go today. But just to say that this does not go well for our democracy. We have thought that we will receive this as our Christmas gift from the president, but it's turning out that the electoral bill will not see 2021, maybe 2022. If there is sufficient commitment on the part of the National Assembly, they can amend that controversial clause. From what I learned, there are 158 clauses in that bill. So if the president is having issue with just one, they can easily fix that and expeditiously pass and return it to the president for his assent. But I think I also need to talk about the mischief and treachery of the Governors Forum. I don't believe in what Governor Fayemi said, that they don't care whether there is direct or indirect primary. We will have it on good authority that the Governors Forum were the one that said the president should not sign. And Governor Otton came out yesterday to commend the fact that the president did not sign. Even Governor Rufai came out to say, yes, it's with the president that he did not sign. So what is he telling us, that they don't care whether it's direct or indirect primary? That is political speak. He was against, the Governors Forum was against direct primary. And that's why they said they made representations to the president. They also went to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice to say that he should convince the president not to sign. So I think we should just leave politics where it is. But it's so unfortunate that whoever brings a ant-invested firewood home must be ready to play host to lizard, because lizard feed on ants.
It's very, very, I wouldn't say, would you say now that, like CSO say, don't disappoint Nigerians? Nigerians, are they actually disappointed?
Very disappointed. Many of us are disappointed because, I'm an advocate for electoral reform. I'm an advocate for credible election. And now my work is made difficult. How do I convince ordinary citizens who are not interested in an election, who are not interested in registering for continuous voter registering to vote? How do I convince them? Because as far as they are concerned, if there is no electronic voting, there is no electronic transmission of results, everything is rigged. So, and there are so many noble provisions in that electoral bill, so much so that thus withdrawing assent as is tantamount to throwing away the baby with the bathwater.
Okay, thank you so much. We are not done yet on this electoral bill issue. We are going to go on break now. When we come back, we will be having our National Assembly Senate correspondent Sunday Iswa to shed more light on the stance of the senators. Don't go away. We are going on a break now. When we come back, we'll resume.
sponsorship, and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Welcome back. What we are still on electoral bill issue is a developing story that has been making the rounds in the Nigerian newspapers, and we have our National Assembly correspondent Sunday Isua to shed more light from the angle of the senators. Sunday Isua, are you there? Thank you for joining us. Sunday, can you? Unmute your mic. There's technical hitch there. Okay, is it back? It's not back. So, it's Editor John. I still have you in the studio with me.
So what we are hearing from the grapevine is that those who sponsored this direct primary confusion may actually be working to an answer that that's the only way they can scuttle any amendment of the Electoral Act and take us back to status quo ante, where all the shenanigans we saw in 2019, where returning officers are being put under duress to announce somebody as winners, where issue of election violence was the order of the day, where issue of vote buying or vote trading was the order of the day. That so that it can persist and APC can retain power in 2023. Because if public opinion is anything to go by, if there were to be a presidential election today, free and fair presidential election, I'm not sure APC will win. With the mood of the nation around issue of insecurity, economy, anti-corruption, no, I don't know. I have my doubts whether APC will be able to win. So, and they may possibly, because politicians always look at the next election, not the next generation. They may have looked at, if we have this fine, this legal framework, it's going to make things difficult for APC to retain the presidency in 2023, and they may wish to have the status quo maintained.
Okay. Now, just a year and some few months to the next general elections, do you think this is possible to have an electoral bill that president?
Of course, very well, very well. According to House of Reps, they are resuming on the 18th of January. Yes. On or before end of January, they can deal with this issue expeditiously. Like I said, it's just one clause that the president have issues with. It's just as good as lifting the provision of Section 87 and putting it in that new bill and pass it for another time and send it to the president for assent. That's all it's needed.
But given the fact that even if they had to, just like what you suggested earlier, or maybe returning it back, the parties have the power to do whatever they want, indirect or direct. Now, do you see the House of Reps, now that they have been overturned in so many ways, do you see them doing that? That is the National Assembly.
National Assembly can do that if sufficient pressure is mounted on them. Because after merrymaking, consultations, they may say, look, let's kill this thing in view so that all of us can have fair chance of getting back ticket. You understand? Veto is out of it. It's dead on arrival.
Yes, it's dead on arrival.
Because while the Senate may succeed in overriding the president's veto, but House of Reps that have already gone on recess, would they come back and now say they want to veto the president? I don't think that will fly. What may likely happen now, which is the most logical.
However, many people even think that they are just grandstanding.
Exactly, they are just grandstanding because at the end of the day, many of these senators would cave in,
yes,
particularly or if they were to do electronic voting, in which case everybody will answer their father's name. But they can get away if they do voice vote, so they can deny, no, I wasn't part of it, I didn't. But the fact that there is no synergy on what should be the next line of action by the House and the Senate is going to make overriding the president's veto very challenging. Because if both of them have consulted and they said, okay, from the feelers of it's better to override, and they postpone their commencement of Christmas recess till maybe Thursday, and then deal with that issue today and see whether, because from the legal reading, what I learned is that the two-thirds majority they need is not even two-thirds of all the elected members. It's two-thirds of those who are present at the sitting. Okay. So let's assume that 50 people were present at the sitting. You just need two-thirds of those 50. And that is very easy to get if they are committed to overriding the president's
veto. So it was people said they collected some 3 signatures so far. Why did they reported 75?
Yes, because the number is increasing. And they may even get 90, they may get 80. It doesn't matter. If they are not carrying their brothers in the House of Reps along, it's going to be dead on arrival. It's just like when you say you impeach the president, House of Reps or Senate impeaches the president, but there is no concurrence from House of Reps. Or even in lawmaking, there are, if the Senate passes a law and the House of Reps did not pass it, the law is dead on arrival unless both of them pass the same version of the bill. And something that this whole brouhaha has generated is this. I recall that the Punch newspaper on May 31st, 2021, published a report where it said over 200 bills passed by the National Assembly, this ninth National Assembly, over 200 bills passed by the National Assembly in the last 6 years have been rejected by the president. Wow. 200 bills. Yeah, it's available. You can Google it. Over 200 bills where the president would tell us. And you saw the two arm of government have displayed lack of commitment to electoral reform. Why did I say so? The president could have sponsored that electoral amendment bill as an executive bill. Did you know it's not an executive bill? It's a private member bill sponsored by the members of parliament. It could have, the president should have seized the initiative to show commitment. And look, that was what his brother from Katsina State did in 2010. That was what Yar'Adua did. He sponsored the electoral reform bill as an executive bill. And that's the same law that we are using 11 years after. It sponsored both constitutional reform and electoral reform. And it was
also amended during Jonathan's time.
Yes, in 2015. But not many people knew about that amendment. But what I'm saying is that if the president had wanted to show sufficient courage and interest, commitment, he should have sponsored that electoral bill amendment as an executive bill, because most of the things he has assented to are executive bills. They are executive bills. So first, the president is culpable by not sponsoring it as an executive bill. Secondly, why did whoever sponsored that smuggled that provision into the amendment bill, which was not previously discussed, not the political parties were not consulted? I think that person is also a mischief maker.
Actually, was the first person to announce it on this platform then, during the first week of when the bill was sent to him, electoral bill, that he was not going to sign. I said, given the fact the haste and the dispatch is signed the PIB into law.
Yes.
He just came to the country over the weekend. He
signed
it. I said it here. I said he was not going to sign.
He waited 4 weeks.
I said he was not going to sign,
and you know why I also have this feeling that we may just be splitting here over nothing. That APC may not be committed to any electoral reform. You know why I also have that feeling? The letter of the president read December 13. Why should it take a whole 7-8 days for letter from the one arm of government to another? Because the House of the Speaker and the Senate President said they received it yesterday morning, which is on the 21st.
It took more than a week.
So if the president was interested, he could deal with this issue expeditiously,
Yes.
so that in 2 weeks he has written about his reservation, and in 2 weeks they will have dealt with whatever needed to be amended.
Yes.
Because look, there is no law that says a bill for it to become a law must stay 30 days, 1 year, 5 years before it's passed. It can even be done in 3 days. Day 1, first reading. Day 2, second reading. Day 3, third reading and pass. They don't have to do public hearing. So all these things is just lack of commitment. And APC may just be working behind the scene to make sure that there is no electoral reform ahead of 2023, knowing full well things are going to move from bad to worse. And many Nigerians may not want APC. And APC doesn't want to be a government of one term or one full term, as it were, which is 10 years, 8 years. Because it will not all go well for APC to have done 2 terms of an administration, and that means in 10 years the party in 10 years became controlled as executive and legislative and federal and state, and then went into opposition again. That they don't want to happen. I don't know whether you get my point.
I do.
So that may be part of the reason why they don't want this reform to stay true, because already we don't know whether INEC is factoring the cost of electronic voting and electronic transmission of results into the 305 billion that is requesting of the president. 305 billion, not be more money. In 2019 and in 2018, the total money INEC requested, which was given to it, was 189 billion. That was out of a total package of 242 billion. 53 billion out of that money was given to security agencies to secure the electoral environment. So the police, the DSS, the civil defense, all of them share the 53 billion. But this time around, INEC alone is requesting for 305 billion. Is that inclusive of procurement of electronic voting machine and procurement of electronic transmission of result devices and all of that? So there is more question than answer. But more importantly for me is that I think there are half-truths and mistruth and misinformation about this whole thing. In coming days and weeks, maybe the truth will come out as to who championed what purpose and whether this is just a mere stage management or there is a genuine interest in electoral reform.
Thank you so much. Yes, away from electoral matters, we are moving over to business and talking about the national economy. The next paper and the last paper also on our menu for review this morning. The national economy says 2022 budget. Amidst uncertainty, Reps jack up oil benchmark to $62 per barrel. 2022 budget. Amidst uncertainty, Reps jack up oil benchmark to $62 per barrel. That is on the national economy.
Well, yeah, I mean, the House of Reps has passed the appropriation bill yesterday, like I mentioned earlier, and they have increased the budget from 16 trillion to 17 trillion. So I think there was an increase of estimated $700 billion. 700 billion. So if they have changed the oil benchmark, if they have jacked it up to 62 dollars per barrel, maybe they are looking at possibility of an increase in the demand for Nigeria's crude oil. And but this is a gamble that can pay off or may not pay off. But you see, I'm not even fixated about this bill, about this appropriation bill. You know why? Because it's not cast in stone. The 2021 budget, no, the 2020 budget, when it was initially passed in December of 2019, and President assented to it. Did you know that that same bill was sent back, that same act was sent back to the National Assembly for reduction in the budget estimate because of COVID-19, which was not initially envisaged. And almost all the state governments reduced their budget proposal. So it can go up, it can come down, but the most important thing is that for the purposes of planning, I think given the fact that our revenue estimate is not very healthy, it will not be ideal to be jacking up the budget, knowing full well that we are running a deficit budget.
Exactly. Don't you see a situation whereby they also borrow to fund the budget?
Of course, it's a guarantee. That one not dole now, as they say in Hausa language. It's dole that they will borrow to fund, and that's why the president said earlier. Sometimes he said that we should we should know that administration will continue to borrow. That what they are borrowing to do is to borrow to develop infrastructure and not to for consumption. But that also ties into, would the president have the courage to remove this fuel subsidy next year? Because you know, the NLC is already spoiling for show. I said that nothing should nothing should make the president to remove fuel subsidy. But this is the same subsidy that APC administration called fraudulent, that there was no subsidy. Now they are paying, they are reportedly paying 1 trillion in subsidy. And can we sustain this 1 trillion subsidy every year? And we cannot. But I think there needs to be proper consultation. A number of things I see in the area of subsidy removal. If Dangote refinery comes on stream in the first quarter of next year, it will be easy to sell the idea of subsidy removal. And three modular refineries, one in Akwa Ibom, one in Edo, and one in which state now? Is it Bayelsa or somewhere? So there are 3 modular refineries that are supposed to come on stream next year. If these 3 modular refineries come on stream and Dangote refineries come on stream, then it will be very easy to sell the idea of let's remove subsidy, because then we will not be paying for sourcing crude oil in foreign currency. Yes. So we will just be using our naira to trade and to buy. And this whole issue of cost of transportation from Europe, cost of refining and transportation of the refined petroleum products from Europe to Nigeria will no longer be there. So it will just be cost of freighting after the purchase. So if you buy, and you know, you cannot decentralize the purchase. The one in South can decide to go, like Edo State, the modular refinery in Edo State can service Edo and Delta. You understand? The one in Bayelsa can service Rivers and Bayelsa. And then the one in Akwa Ibom can service Cross River and Akwa Ibom State. And that means the entire South is already covered. So if you cover South, Lagos and the rest of the country can depend on Dangote to service us. And what I know is that even if at that point in time that we have we have enough of domestic refined petroleum products, it will be easy to sell the idea of removal of subsidy.
Even bring the prices down.
Definitely. But the only thing is that government cannot contemplate removal of subsidy when we are still going to be going to Europe or Asia to go and refine the crude and then bring it into Nigeria. That one will be counterproductive because it's going to cost a lot of economic dislocation. There will be increase in inflation, cost of living will increase, and crime will increase. So definitely at that point, it will be a no-no for NLC and TUC. But if Dangote comes on stream, and we are told that Dangote refinery is about 650,000, yes, first quarter of next year. If they meet that commission date and it comes on board first quarter of next year, then government can wait at least immediately after Dangote has commenced operations. Being in Nigeria out of patriotism, it can service Nigeria, and whatever is left after Nigeria has been satisfied, it can sell to the rest of the world. So I think it's going to be incumbent. But what we are saying is that we really do not know where we are going with issue of oil benchmark because of Omicron COVID-19 variant, which is also threatening Europe and America. Many countries are thinking of shutting down again because of the high transmission rate of Omicron, even though we are told it's not as deadly as the new variant, Delta and other variants, But officially, the NCDC has put Nigeria as being in the fourth wave of COVID. And we don't know what impact that will have on our crude oil production, on even the sales of this crude oil when it's taken to international customers. So a lot of uncertainty, but let's see how this jacking up of oil benchmark.
The issue of subsidy has been like a sort of a damn over people's head.
Of course.
Remember during the Obasanjo said has been to remove or not to be. And many people, including me, are of the opinion that they should just remove it once and for all. I don't think they just will die. It can't be worse than this.
Yes. In fact, just let me shock you, Winifred. Last week, when there was scarcity in Abuja, I bought 10 liters of PMS for 3,000 naira in my part of Abuja. 300 naira per liter. And this opposite a filling station. 300 naira per liter. But I needed to drive down to town. So I had to buy. So if I could buy, because I have business to do, many others will buy. So all this issue of we cannot buy at 250, we cannot buy at now lie. When the chips are down, it's just that there is no sincerity of purpose on the part of government. Today they will say there is no subsidy. They are doing under recovery. What is under recovery? You are paying millions and billions to some fat cats, who are importing far less than they are claiming the subsidy for. And we know how this trade. This has created a lot of noble riches, people with young, dappy, smart guys who are now suddenly billionaires. Because all they just do is trading in import license. And at some point, CBN was even giving them discounted rate at foreign exchange at discounted rate. So they will bring it, and they will. Some we are told somebody may say he has imported 15 million liters of PMS. Meanwhile, he actually imported 5 million liters, and he will not claim subsidy on 15 million liters.
And he will settle some.
Of course, he will settle people in PPPRA. That of course is been scrapped now after the signing into law of petroleum industry. But we know all the shady deeds that goes on, which is why I'm one of those who advocated that we should just do away with this first subsidy. It's a scam, and it's not helping us. But ordinary citizens of Nigeria doesn't want to hear about it. They think that because I support first subsidy removal, I must be very comfortable. They don't know I run a lot of debts as I am here. I know I'm owing a lot of people that, but the truth has to be said. How can government sustain 1 trillion naira every year in first subsidy when obviously you saw that the revenue government is talking of 60% revenue shortage as rising from COVID-19,
which is even enough to build new refineries.
And again, they went and said they have borrowed $1.5 billion to turn around the Port Harcourt refinery, which I find very illogical. I think in my column in the Punch, I called it nonsensical, because it's very nonsensical. Why would you go and borrow 1.5 trillion? And this after you spent over $25 billion in turnaround maintenance without anything to show for it. And people are getting salaries for working in those refineries in Kaduna, in Warri, and even in Port Harcourt without doing anything. They draw salaries, they get promotion. What kind of country are we running? This definitely looks like a banana republic. It's so unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate. So forget about the issue of budget. It's an hollow ritual. whatever budget they pass, how much implementation have attended to the budget. And mark you, every year SCPC will come out and say that the budget is padded. Yet the president will not return budget, so he will sign that padded budget. And then when it comes to electoral acts, he will say, for direct primaries, I cannot sign. They know what they are doing. There is just this elite consensus to undermine the democratic project of Nigeria. It's very, very painful and all, because every year ICPs will tell you, 500 billion padded budget. But the president will see that this budget is padded. He will still sign. It will still sign under economic expediency. But just out of 158 clauses, you find issues with just one, and you said you are withholding your assets. That's double standard now. That's double standard.
Yeah, I think we'll be calling it a day. And now we'll be drawing the curtain on today's program, Inside Nigeria, reaching you on Leadership Television. And with me on the studio has been Mr. Jide Ojo. Mr. Jide Ojo, it's always a pleasure to have you around.
Same with me, my sister.
A public affairs analyst, dedicated columnist, and of course a TV host. Mr. Jide, thank you so much.
Merry
and
Christmas.
You viewers
Merry
out
Christmas.
there, just a few days to Christmas, you're counting already. And don't forget to stay safe. And I wish you all the best. Tomorrow is another day. And please do keep a date with us. I remain Winifred. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.